Hello there. It's your girl Valerie Mason-Chase again, and welcome to another episode of Marriage Beyond the Breach. Hey, Miss Ollie. Hey, Nicole. Thank you so much for joining us. And oh my goodness, my phone just started talking back to me. Let me turn that down. So anyway, I have a question for you. Do you know what a slow burn relationship is? Well, let me tell you something. I heard that term for the first time maybe 6 to 8 months ago, and I was curious about it. I researched to find out exactly what it is, and I said, I'd like to talk about that on one of our podcasts. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. We're going to be talking about slow burn relationships, what they are, what they're all about. What could be some of the pluses and possible minuses of engaging in a slow burn relationship? So, we have one of our regulars here with us on this evening. I'm going to bring her on, and I would love for you guys to give her a fantabulous I started to say mending hearts. Marriage Beyond the Breach. Welcome. Let me bring on none other than Dr. Angel.
Hello,
Hey,
hello.
Dr. Angel.
Hi, Valerie.
Good to see you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for
So,
having
for those who may not know who she is, I'm going to read Dr. Angel's bio. Dr. Angel Windham is a licensed clinical social worker, certified clinical social worker, and a certified clinical supervisor. She is the founder of New Creation Counseling Services, LLC, which is her private practice in Princeton, New Jersey. Dr. Angel primarily works with children, adolescents, and young adults. However, she has experience working with clients of all ages and has worked over the past 15 years in various treatment settings. Dr. Angel is trained to meet her clients where they are and help them to achieve their goals and get unstuck. Dr. Angel has various resources in her toolkit, including, but not limited to, play therapy techniques, cognitive behavioral therapy, and she relies on the strength based theory to point out to clients just how resilient they really are. Dr. Angel is a wife and mother of two handsome little boys. She is a believer in Jesus Christ and works with her clients to incorporate prayer and daily Bible readings as ways to cope. Dr. Angel also meets with clients who are not of the Christian faith. Dr. Angel earned her Bachelor of Arts degree from Lincoln University in PA, her Master's in Social Work from Kane University, and her doctorate in social work in 2021 from Capella University. And her personal motto is, ready for this, y'all? Today, I take action. So, welcome, Dr. Angel, and you're going to take some action tonight?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I want to mention a place that we
Mm-hmm.
met, which is where I am the full-time clinical supervisor, Mending Hearts, as you said,
Yes.
that you were going to
Yes.
say earlier. So shout out
Yeah,
to
that
Mending
almost slipped
Hearts,
out. Shout out
behavioral
to
health.
Mending Hearts, Behavioral Health, and Family Services. So, yes, definitely shout out to Mending Hearts because, I'm Mending Hearts, I'm Marriage Beyond the Breach. So, and they both start with M. So, sometimes I go to say one and the other slips out, but it's all good because I'm a part of both.
Yes.
So,
And that's how we
anywho,
met.
uh,
That's how we met.
that's how we met, right
Hmm.
at Mending Hearts. Yeah, because I actually started my internship there, my practicum and internship. I started there at Mending Hearts, and there I remain 5 years later. So praise God for that. That
Hmm.
5 years went by so fast.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
I want to dive right in to our topic on tonight. So, Dr. Angel, looking at it from a clinical perspective, how
Hmm.
would you define a slow burn relationship, and what, if anything, makes it different from instant attraction or love at first sight?
Hmm. Hmm. A slow burn relationship is one where you come together and you meet each other. The man and the woman we're talking about meet each other, and they take the time to get to know each other, what their interests are, what may be some things they have in common, who is in their
Mhm.
family, you know, what
Mhm.
they get to know what makes that person tick, as opposed to the initial, I know we were talking about love at first sight, the initial,
Mhm.
um, just, oh, I like the way this person looks, but they try to make sure that they
Yeah.
understand the person and make sure that they get to know the person when it's a slow burn relationship.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm,
Yeah, that's good because that love at first sight business is mostly about that chemistry, that feeling you have
mhm.
when you meet someone and your hormones are raging and their hormones are raging and you think it's love, but it's really usually
Lust.
more LUST than LOVE.
Yes. Mhm. Yes.
Yeah, but like you said, slow burn relationship, you take your time. And I think that's one of the main features is taking your time to get to know the other person. So, what do you think might make some people feel safer in a connection that grows slowly rather than one that has that immediate spark?
Well, these connections that grow slowly, you have then this, these experience together, so you could say we have history together. We're not just, getting together and it's based off of that initial physical attraction, but like I said, you get to know what makes that person tick. You get to know what their likes are, their dislikes. You start to have inside jokes, or, oh,
I,
I
my
know,
Wi-Fi is acting. I'm
these
sorry,
certain,
my Wi-Fi is acting up.
oh, okay, these certain
Dios mío. Okay,
experiences.
go ahead. I'm
Yes.
sorry. It was my Wi-Fi was acting up.
Okay.
Hmm.
No problem. You would say these certain experiences are what keeps you guys together. But you form a bond. You
Hmm.
form a bond, and you don't do that in these relationships that are just this initial attraction. You don't have that same bond.
Yeah.
You don't have that same, glue that you would in a slow burn
Hmm. Hmm.
relationship.
Hmm. And I would imagine that with a slow burn relationship, you are allowing time to for emotional safety to develop
Yes.
as well. Yeah,
To trust the other
because
person, to know that that
mm-hmm,
person is
mm-hmm,
also emotionally stable, you know, um,
mm-hmm,
different
mm,
things
mm-hmm,
happen when we're first getting to know people. So, how does this
mm-hmm,
person drive? How does this person treat their family members, their siblings, their
mm-hmm.
parents? Uh, Looking at
Yeah,
those signs and seeing, okay, if this is how they treat this person, then this is a sign that this is how they may treat me. Finding
mm,
out just different things about the person and taking that
yeah,
time, and not be so, up in the clouds, and then say later on, well, I did see that and I just didn't, I didn't question it, or I didn't think about it. I was so,
yeah.
in cloud 9 that I couldn't, come down and see the different things.
Yeah. And that's what happens when we have those so-called immediate attractions, love at first sight, or whatever, because you can't live in the clouds. Eventually, we have to come down and our feet have to touch the ground, and that hard reality sets in. And sometimes it looks very different on
Mhm.
the ground than it did while we were up in the clouds.
Yes. I mean,
Yeah.
I tell clients that I know that are dating, young clients, because I see young adults, I'll say, does the person have a job? Where are they
Mm,
living? Do they have their
mm-hmm,
own
mm-hmm,
vehicle? There's some
mm-hmm,
standards
mm-hmm,
that you should have, when you're
mm-hmm,
dating
mm-hmm.
someone, because you're bringing certain things to the table. They need to be bringing some things to the table as well.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember when I was younger, my mother used to always tell me when becoming involved with the guy, watch how he treats his mother.
Mm.
Pay attention to that relationship.
Mhm.
Are they close? Is he loving? Is he kind? Is he respectful to his
Mhm.
mom? And if he's none of those things, more than likely, unless there is some serious dysfunction, more than likely he's going to treat his significant other the same way,
Mhm.
because I think that's where most men learn how to respect a woman. It's from their mother.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
think that's something good to always look for. And again, some mother son relationships can be, what's the word I want to use? Strained, because
Mhm.
there was some family dysfunction and whatnot.
Mhm.
But I'm not speaking about those situations. I'm speaking about where there may have been a healthy parent child relationship between the mother and the son. And then for whatever reason, he just at some point does a 180 and doesn't treat his mom very well. He probably going to treat his woman the same way.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
So what
Even,
about? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
even looking
Go ahead.
at work relationships and stability at a job. Are they going from job to job?
Mm,
Have they been at one long standing and things like that too?
yeah, that's good. Yeah, all relationships you want to
Mhm.
pay attention to when you're becoming involved with someone. Although, the younger generation now, those who are in their, I guess, mid 20s and 30s, maybe up to 35 or whatnot, they look at work stability different than you and I
Mm.
do.
Mhm.
Because some of them, they think it's okay to go from job to job to job as they are searching for that fit. But I know in my generation, the goal was to get a job and stay there and
Mhm.
and grow there and learn there and hopefully retire from there. That used to be for baby boomers like me. That
Mhm.
was the goal, you know. But younger people look at it differently. So I wonder how that. How do you think that might impact or influence what they think about their potential mate in
Mhm.
job wise?
I think you still have to say, okay, did you stay within the same field? Did you, what were the
Mm,
reasons that you left? And did you already have another job before you left? You know,
yeah.
um, Other things have to come into play. Were you ever
Hmm.
without work because of you? Or was it, because of other circumstances that occurred, you know, and trying to look at it that way? Because yeah, there are
Right. Yeah.
different
Did you quit
concerns.
or did you get?
Yeah. And if they got fired, what
Hmm.
were the
Hmm.
circumstances behind that? We don't know. It could have still not been,
Exactly.
them, but trying to see, what
Right.
all went on there with their work. But
Hmm.
working, I feel as though even in this
Oh,
generation, can you hear me, Valerie? Okay.
I can.
Oh, my husband put
Yeah.
something up. Okay. Yes, it
Hmm.
is. Getting fired from a job is a problem, but we need to see what were the circumstances
Yeah.
behind their termination, because sometimes it may not have been the person's fault. There are some toxic work environments out there,
Correct.
so we can understand that. I was gonna
Oh,
make another
absolutely.
I was
Absolutely.
gonna make
Yeah.
another point too. In this generation,
Mhm.
of young adults, there are a lot of people that are entrepreneurs or content creators, or
Mm.
they're running their own
Mhm.
business
Mhm.
and just trying to, when you're
Yeah. Yeah.
dating that type of person, that entrepreneur, or whatever they do that's not necessarily employment per se, you would need to see, okay, is this sustainable, for having a household? The income that comes
Yeah.
in that's produced from you being an entrepreneur, will
Mhm.
it
Mhm.
will it will it remain, and will it grow over time, and all of that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. That's good, because if that's a potential mate that you're going to get married to, you do need to know that.
Mhm.
If they're an entrepreneur, what is the business? Like you
Yes.
said, when you start having children, what is that going to look like then?
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Because there's nothing wrong with being an entrepreneur.
Yeah,
Uh,
there's some real estate
yeah.
agents, there's all different types
Mm-hmm.
of, jobs that people do, that they're entrepreneurs. They're not necessarily, doing something full time every week.
Mm-hmm.
But,
Mm-hmm.
is that sustainable for the household? Do you have savings? Do you have something,
Mm.
stashed away in case, business is slow, you know,
Yeah, yeah.
1 month to 6 months, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So those of you who are watching, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat, or if you have a
Mhm,
comment, like Brother Frank Wyndham, just feel free to put it in the comment. I'm curious what your thoughts are, those who are viewing now, about a slow burn relationship versus one where there are immediate sparks. And have you been in both? And what was your experience like? I'm
mhm.
always curious to see what other people's experiences are. I don't know if I've ever been. Have I been in uh, a relationship where it was like boom, just like that, and I thought
Mhm.
I was all in love? Well, I did, but I ended up marrying him, and we were together 45 years. So I guess
Wonderful. That's wonderful.
I
I
I ended up I ended up marrying him.
mhm. I can say that my husband and my relationship was a slow burn relationship because we were
Mm,
friends. We were friends in high school and friends
hmm.
throughout college, and it didn't happen until after that we developed into a
Oh,
romantic relationship. Yes. So it's good
wow. Yeah, that's
to
nice. Yeah.
yeah, to have that and to say, "Oh, remember this and remember that," and, you know, it's good to have had that.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. And you've had time to have that foundation of friendship, which really is
Mhm.
a great foundation to have for a marriage, because you want your spouse to be your best friend.
Yes, absolutely, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
looking at some of the research and preparation, it talks about when you
Yeah.
have the slow burn relationship, you have that stronger trust, you have that emotional
Mm,
intimacy, you know, you're able to be more authentic and not, sometimes when we're first dating people, we're not showing up as our authentic selves, you know?
true. Very true. Yeah, yeah.
And,
Hmm.
and it was also showing that in the research that they're more stable, the relationships that are slow burn. Not to say that, these
Hmm.
relationships that are, you know, um, Marriage at First Sight or whatever these different shows are, 90 Day Fiancé and all these different things.
Hmm.
Not to
Hmm.
say that there
Hmm.
cannot be stability, but typically with the slow burn relationships, there's more stability.
More stability. And that makes sense
Mhm,
because you're taking more time to really get to know one another
mhm,
before you jump in feet first. And by feet first, I mean jumping in into marriage, you know, a
mhm,
long-term committed relationship. So yeah, that makes sense that that stability would be there. Speaking of those shows, those are some of my guilty pleasures: Married at First Sight
mhm,
and Love is Blind and all of that, 90 Day Fiance. I watch all of them, and
mhm.
hardly any of those couples last. Hardly
Yeah.
any of them.
I wonder also, I know that there's Pop the Balloon, and I wonder about these
Mm,
Bachelor and Bachelorette and all of that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
It's probably
that's very
somebody
true.
doing some research about, what the statistics are behind those people getting together and everything.
Okay. So my sister Nicole said that she's never heard of this concept, but most of her relationships were friendships where the guy started to discover that she's a great catch and seeing her as a cool friend. Yeah. Yeah.
Would she say they
That's
put
good,
her in
Nick.
the friend zone? They put her in the friend zone?
Well, she said they started to discover that she's a great catch,
Okay.
and seeing her as a cool friend. So
Okay,
it
so
sounds
both.
as if it was both. Yeah, they
Mhm,
might have started at a friend, and this is a cool friend, your homegirl and whatnot. But then after periods of time, she said, "Oh, after seeing her first as a cool friend, yeah,
mhm, That's
and
good.
then realizing, wow, yeah, there's something to this girl, and it definitely is. I know Nicole, she absolutely is a great catch. Not just a good catch, sis. You a great catch, absolutely. So, and you can learn that over the course of time when
Mhm.
you take your time and
Mhm.
and invest in learning the person that you are considering being married to. Because like I
Mhm.
said, Frank and I, we met March 28th, 1980. We got engaged January of 81, and then we
Mhm.
got married in August of 82.
Okay.
So that was from the time we met to the time we married was what, like 2.5 years, a little over 2 years.
Mhm.
So I think that's kind of fast. Maybe not nowadays, but I think that's kind of fast. So he
Mhm.
and I, we did move kind of quickly. And I have to say, there are things that we did learn about each other after we got married that
Mhm.
it would have been helpful if we had taken the time to learn
Okay.
those things before we got married, because
Mm.
not all of it had a positive impact on our relationship. Some had
Oh,
a
okay.
negative impact on our relationship, but thank God we were able to overcome. I mean, obviously, here we are 45 years later, so we were able to get beyond some of
Congratulations.
that.
Mhm.
Oh, John is right. My son, he said I got married in 81, not 82. You're right, son. How did
So that
well,
was
our daughter
fast.
was born in
Thank
82.
you, John.
That was fast. Thank you, Jono. Ain't that something? Uh-oh. My cookie man just sent
Uh-oh.
me a text saying, yeah, that's right. So it was
So
it was
it's
a year and a half
44
from we
years.
got married, from the time we met to the time we got married. Yeah.
Mm.
So that was fast. So we didn't have no slow burn. We had a what would you call it? A fire starter.
Okay. Okay.
We had a fire starter. So let's talk now about attachments and what role might attachments play
Mm.
in a slow burn versus a love at first sight
Mhm.
relationship. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, looking at the attachment styles like avoidant attachment or, if you have an anxious attachment, those I would think,
Mm-hmm.
in a slow burn relationship, you could take the time to process, why do they have like this avoidant attachment style or why do they have
Mm,
anxious attachment style? But if you are in this, fast-paced relationship, you're not able to take the
mm-hmm.
time to determine, you know, if they have this anxious attachment style or avoidant attachment style, how will that impact
Yeah.
the relationship over time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Talking about still being, you're up in the clouds and you're not realizing, okay, this person is avoiding me and I don't know what's going on here, but you're so in love and
Mm-hmm.
so, you know, not really thinking about, okay, later on, am I going to be able to deal with this that, my
Mm,
spouse is not speaking to me over an argument
mm-hmm.
we
Mm-hmm.
had. Now 3 days have gone by and the children are even seeing this, that
Yeah.
your spouse isn't speaking to you because that's an attachment style, avoidant, and maybe that's what they
Mm-hmm.
grew up with in their house. But I would think if you're looking at things from a slow burn relationship, when you're having your premarital counseling, maybe ironing out some things before you guys even get
Yeah.
married, and say, maybe you grew up this way or maybe I grew up that way, but we want to figure out
Mm-hmm.
how we want, things to be in our own home and not how,
Yeah.
not take certain things from the household that we grew up in.
Yeah. Yeah. And if
Mhm.
you take your time, you can learn those things
Mhm.
and try to work on some of that stuff before you say I do.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's amazing. I mean, maybe maybe people think more about it now,
Mhm.
but back in 1980, 81, well, no, ain't nobody had time for that. We weren't thinking about stuff like that. The things that we think about now. that have
Mhm.
the potential to have such a negative impact on our relationships. But I am so happy that more people are thinking about it now. I'm
Yes.
always so happy when a couple comes in for premarital counseling, even
Mhm.
some even before they have officially gotten engaged. They'll
Mhm.
come in for counseling because sometimes maybe the engagement ain't gonna happen
Yes.
if they
Mhm.
come in and certain things are discovered. So yeah, I think there's something to be said for taking your time. But sometimes people might worry or be concerned that if there isn't that immediate spark, that immediate chemistry, that the relationship isn't right. So how can someone distinguish between a lack of interest and a
Mhm.
slow building connection?
I think for the slow building connection, maybe you aren't physically attracted, and or maybe they do look good, they look good to you, but not I know some women will say, well, I prefer, someone who's this complexion or whatever have
Mm,
you, and men too. But then they meet someone
mm-hmm,
and maybe they
mm-hmm,
challenge them intellectually. And they start to become
mm,
attracted to that. Maybe they start to see
mm-hmm,
that they have
mm-hmm,
certain interests, together, and they
mm-hmm,
start doing
mm-hmm.
those certain things together. Um, and then they feel like, wow, I am attracted to this person. You know, um,
Yeah, yeah.
some people will say, oh, my type is the bad boy type, or my type is,
Mm,
there used to be this around the way girl. That's my type. But
mm-hmm,
then they would meet someone that wasn't necessarily a bad boy, and maybe he was
mm-hmm,
someone who was, real stable, holding down a job, and he wasn't out
mm-hmm.
in the club and everything. And then they found, oh, I do like this person. I do have some things
Yeah,
in common
yeah.
with this person. Or maybe it wasn't, a certain woman that they thought they might have liked, and then they got excited about another type of woman, and said,
Mm-hmm,
oh, I do
mm-hmm.
like, her, regardless
Yeah.
of, what I thought was my type. But
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
if you're not taking the time to see what else is there, because people's looks
Yeah.
fade over time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And your initial
Absolutely.
attraction to that person can fade over time. You can like someone
Mm-hmm.
at first glance, and then stuff starts coming out of their mouth, and you're like, "Oh no, I don't like this person," you know,
Exactly.
because
Yeah,
of things
yeah.
that they're saying or how they're saying it or
Mm-hmm,
whatever have you.
mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm. Yeah.
it's important to get to know what's below the surface.
I agree, 100%. So, that's why I have mixed feelings about this whole type business. When somebody says, okay, I have a type, this is my
Mhm.
type, that is my type. Um, because if you stick, especially if you have had several uh, failed or unhealthy relationships with that type, and you still
Mhm.
keep going for that type and
Mhm.
don't allow yourself to explore, other flowers in the field that may be out there. So some people just say, okay, that's my type and that's it, and that's all, and I'm just going to stick with that. And I think sometimes that could be a recipe for disaster because you're not opening yourself up, like you said, to the
Mm.
possibility even of being attracted to and having a meaningful relationship with someone who is completely opposite of what you may consider to be your type.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And like I
So
said
I want to give a
earlier.
shout out real quick. Hold on one
Okay.
second. I want to give a shout out real quick to my cousin Elaine. Hey, cuz, thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Mhm.
Hi, Lane.
I'm sorry.
Hi, Lane,
Hmm.
and E. Nicole and Ollie.
Hmm.
I looked on the YouTube.
Hmm. Oh, you see him there? Hmm.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Hi, everyone. I do want to say something to what I mentioned earlier. You should have standards, though.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. It's a difference
Oh, yeah.
between having a type and having
And having
standards.
standards.
Like I said,
Absolutely. I
does the
agree.
person have a
Hmm.
job? Are they
Hmm.
gainfully
Hmm.
employed,
Hmm.
or they got some
Hmm.
source of income Do they have a
Mhm.
vehicle? You know, are they
Mhm.
paying
Mhm.
their own bills or is
Yeah.
somebody else paying the bills? Just having some standards, you know.
Yeah.
Are they punctual when the two of you are going out to get together,
Yeah.
or are they showing up 20 minutes late, you know,
Mhm. Mhm.
and they have an
Mhm.
excuse every time? Just, having some standards, having
Yeah.
some
Yeah.
people call it, okay, these are my red flags, having some red flags, you know, these are
Yeah. Yeah.
my, must-haves, or, having something, a list of some type of, list that you can go to and say, okay, do they
Yeah.
meet this criteria? If they don't,
Mhm.
do they love God? Are they of my same faith? You
Mm.
want to
Mhm.
you want
Mhm.
to have
Mhm.
those things in mind when you're dating someone. Slow
Yeah.
burn or initial attraction, whatever, you know?
Whatever. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I do believe that we all should have uh an idea of what our
Mhm,
red flags are, what our yellow flags are, and what the green flags are. Because
mhm,
the yellow flags are things that are negotiable. You'd like to have
mhm.
it, but if you don't, you can live with it. And I want to point out one of those things that you said is a vehicle. Because if you're living in Brooklyn and you don't have a vehicle, it's not that big a deal. I
Yes.
think it kind of depends on where you live. So
Mhm,
if you live somewhere like New York City or I started to say Philadelphia or any place that has
someplace, yeah.
um,
Mass transit.
public transportation.
Mhm,
Yes, because New York City has great mass transit, bus
mhm.
and subway in all of the boroughs except Staten Island. You know, Staten Island is like no man's land, but the other other four boroughs. So if you live in Staten Island, having a vehicle is important. But if you live in one of the other four boroughs, it would be nice to have, but if you don't, it's not that big a deal. So I think also the standards should meet where you live.
Mhm.
You know, that might be helpful to consider whether you think someone is a viable candidate to be in
Mhm.
a long-term relationship with. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And also, like I mentioned earlier, you need to be bringing some stuff to the table too. Not that this
Yep.
person okay, they need to be matching what do we say?
Mm,
Matching your energy. Not, "Oh, I
yeah.
don't have these things, so this person's gonna make up for it."
Yeah. And they're going to end up in divorce court because the one who's bringing everything is eventually going to turn around and look and say, hey, you had all these standards for me and I met your standards, but where are yours? You know, where are the things that you were bringing and that you can offer to this relationship? So if both partners have their red flags, yellow flags, and green flags, and if
Mhm.
they match up in terms of those things, then they stand a relatively good chance of having a longer term relationship and not
Yeah,
just a flash in the pan. Yeah.
absolutely.
So let's say uh, someone is in a slow burn relationship, and what should they be looking for in terms of indicators that emotional intimacy is developing, even if passion is not there?
Mhm. Emotional intimacy, can they have
Hmm.
those hard conversations with each other? You know,
Mm.
about maybe their family members, about their relationship, about, um, finances is a big one. Can they have those
Oh
hard
yeah.
conversations? Um, I
Hmm.
know that some couples, a hard conversation is, what if I don't wanna have children and this person wants to have children? That could be, a make it or break it for some people that, oh, the person
Yes.
they're seeing
Hmm.
says, "I don't wanna have children." And they had already, in their mind, imagined having this big family, and so that's why it's important to get to know, what
Hmm.
some
Hmm.
people's, you know, thoughts are for what their life is going to turn out as. Some people, they just want to get married and travel with their spouse. They don't want to have children. They just want to travel. They
Yeah.
want to just spend life with that one person, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
And they have no desire. But some people, they
Mm-hmm.
want to build a legacy and they want to have all of these children. So then that's not a match. Maybe you were
Exactly.
initially attracted to that person, but that
Mm-hmm.
person
Mm-hmm.
now is not a match because they don't have the same goals for the relationship that you have for the relationship.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
And there are
developing,
individuals.
mhm,
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just
Mm-hmm.
saying, developing that emotional intimacy means you're able to ask those hard questions, you know. But go ahead. I'm
Mm-hmm. No, no, no. I kind of stepped on your words a little bit.
sorry.
But what I was going to say is, yeah, and there are individuals out there who don't want to have children, and that's okay.
Yes.
And they shouldn't be made to feel bad if they don't want to have children, because sometimes there's this pressure that can people can put on them. Oh, when are y'all going to have a baby? When are you going to have your first child? Y'all ain't have no kids yet. Some people don't want to have any children, and it's okay. It's their decision,
Mhm.
especially if they're with someone who feels exactly the same way.
Mhm. It's,
Yeah, it's perfectly
questions
okay.
about, if we were to get a dog, who's got to take care of the dog? Who's going to go walk the dog
Oh,
outside? Who's going to take the dog to the vet? You know, that is,
yeah.
are we all going to treat the dog as if the dog is a family member? Believe it or not, that can
What are
make
you
it or
doing
break
now?
it for some relationships. What were you going to say?
I said not for me. Mm-mm. I know for some people the dog is like their child or their
Yes.
cousin or their little brother or something. I don't have that gene.
So, is that going to make it or break it for our relationship?
Mm-hmm.
One day,
Mm-hmm.
somebody brings a cat home or something, and you're like, well, wait a minute. What is this? We didn't talk about this. What's your take on,
Yes.
pets, and what's your take on major
Mm-hmm.
purchases? What if,
Mm-hmm.
one day, someone shows up with a motorcycle, or, this big flat screen TV, and is
Mm-hmm.
it okay? Do we, you know, is this now going to end the
Yeah.
relationship?
Mm-hmm. That's really good, especially that you were talking about pets. Because Frank and I had a situation like that. My husband is an absolute die-hard
Mhm.
animal lover. I,
Okay.
on the other hand, am not. We didn't talk about that before we got married, okay? And I guess he thought because I grew up with a dog that it was okay that I kind of like
Mhm.
dogs. I don't like any pets, okay? I don't like animals at all. And he loves them. And it's so funny. One day he came home with a box full of puppies
Mm-mm-mm.
because he used to work for Con Edison, right? And he, as a meter reader, and he would have to go from house to house reading the electric meters and whatnot. And he said he heard something and heard
Oh.
these little puppies, and there were all these puppies in this box underneath a car. And he had to
Oh.
crawl up under there to get these puppies.
He
And
had to
he
save
bought
them.
I think it was 4 or 5 puppies he brought to the house. I said, now I know you have lost your whole mind bringing these puppies up in here. Yeah, Val, but I couldn't leave them there. I'm going to find a home for them and blah, blah, blah. Okay, you got to find them because they can't stay up in here. So went to work the next day. We both went to work the next day, left the puppies in the box. When I tell you I came home, they had destroyed our apartment.
Oh,
They
wow.
had destroyed. There was pee. There was poop. They had knocked over the plants. There was dirt everywhere. And I said, "Listen, it's you or them, but somebody got to go. Okay, you have to get these dogs out of my house." So we
Mhm.
finally got rid of the puppies. But a lot of our years together, we did have dogs. I did finally agree. Okay, we would have an animal, but the agreement was for me, it's hands off. If they're cute,
He
I
had to
might play
take care of
with
the
them a little bit.
animal.
I'm not feeding them. I'm not walking them. I'm not taking them to the
Mhm.
vet. I'm not doing any of those things. And so he agreed to that. So it kind of worked out until the last dog we had. When that dog died, I said, I just can't do it anymore. I've had enough years of dog hair and pee, and because even a dog that's housebroken, if they get sick, they have accidents.
Mhm.
I said I can't take that anymore. So finally, after 40 years, he said, okay, the last dog we had, when that dog passed away, we won't get any more animals. But that's not a conversation we had in the beginning.
Mhm.
But it is helpful to talk about that
Yes.
before you think about having a long-term relationship or moving in with each other or getting married
Mhm.
or whatever. Because some people are dog people, some people are cat people, some people are fish people, some people are bird people, and some people are no pets like me. So,
No pet.
but no pets. So you need to learn that. You need to figure that out. You need to figure that out. So, Dr. Angel, what about past trauma? Can
Mhm.
individuals with trauma histories, do you think that they might be more drawn to a slow burn relationship because it might offer some emotional safety? Or what are your thoughts on that?
Yes, because when you're in this slow burn relationship, it is good if you could have someone that you can trust, that you can
Mm,
say, look, I need to heal from some things. Are you willing to be around as I'm working through some things? I do believe that if someone has had a trauma history
mm,
and they're in a relationship, they
hmm.
owe that relationship them going to counseling and them doing the work. And
Yeah.
maybe they have to even have
Hmm.
that partner come into their counseling too, into their world.
Yeah.
Once they feel as if they can
Hmm.
trust them,
Hmm.
and in a slow burn relationship, you're building that emotional intimacy. So you're able to say, okay, I'm going to have a counseling session and I want to have you join,
Hmm.
you know? I
Yeah.
want to tell you about some things about my past, what I've experienced. And,
Hmm.
in
Hmm.
these love at first sight relationships, you're not talking about, you know, what has happened in your past and what you're healing from and what you're working through.
Right.
You're not necessarily sharing that, but in the slow burn relationship, you are sharing those things. You're
Yeah.
getting to know
Yeah.
the person over time and okay,
Hmm.
well what are what was your childhood like and what were some of the things that went on and how can I make sure that I keep you safe. Maybe let me know what are the triggers, for certain things for
Hmm.
you. And how can
Yeah.
they take that into consideration when someone has trauma, they can share with a partner that they know is going to be around. These are the things that trigger me. These are the things that I'm healing from. And
Hmm.
they can make sure to keep them safe, you know?
Yeah. That's good. That's good because we do need to share those things with our partner or a potential partner,
Potential partner. Mhm.
for, for that
Mhm.
matter. Yeah.
I wanna say too, I think that this was something that people used to do when they had courtship, right? When they were
Mhm.
actually dating
Mhm.
for marriage. They would learn
Yeah.
these things about each other, and we kinda lost that. I think still in
Yeah.
some of the southern states or whatever, people have courtship or, whatever
Mhm.
have you,
Mhm.
but in our, social media and things like that, that's not discussed anymore.
Yeah, that's kind of, I think courting is kind of a lost art in a lot of cultures, but there are some cultures that do still
Mhm.
practice courtship. And you're absolutely right, because there is a lot of time spent getting to know not just the individual, but the individual's family as
Family,
well.
yes. Mhm.
There's a lot of time spent in the presence of each other's family.
Mhm.
Yeah, it would be great if courtship was brought back again in some
Mhm.
relationships. We might not have all this chaos uh, on the social media streets with the male against female and female against
Mhm.
male and all that. I think it would be a very different, a very different environment if the
Exactly.
whole concept of courtship were to return. Would people be willing to wait? Because courtships take time. Are people
Mhm.
willing to wait and put in that amount of work? Because it takes work and effort
Mhm.
to engage in the courtship. I'm not so sure that a lot of people would be willing to do that nowadays.
Because what they say, this is the microwave generation, or this is, the generation where we want things so quickly, and
Yeah.
we don't want to wait. We don't want that delayed gratification.
Mm,
We
we
want
don't want the
everything now.
delay. We want everything now. And then also, when you consider uh, the difference in how family units are structured, because if an individual, an adult male or female, lives far away from their parents, it will be kind of hard to engage in the kind of courtship that couples used to back in the day,
Mhm.
because a lot of it, the guy would come to the girl's house, and a lot of time was spent there in the home
Mhm.
during courting process. So that would kind of make it difficult also if their parents and the adult children
Long
are living on
distance
opposite coasts.
relationships.
If
Mhm.
they're kind of long distance, yeah, I think that would make a pretty big difference. So I also want to ask about handling conflict.
Mhm.
So do you think that slow burn couples might handle conflict differently than those who might rush into a relationship?
Mhm. I think so, because when you're rushing into a relationship, we talk about
Mm,
how, are you rushing into other things? Do you rush into judgments about certain
yeah.
situations? Do you jump to conclusions? Is that just a part of your
Mhm.
personality that you're rushing, rushing, rushing? Whereas if it's a slow burn relationship, do you take the time to understand, okay, what's this person's point of view? You know, okay, I may feel a
Mhm.
certain way, but how does my partner feel? And how can we come up together with a compromise? Maybe I
Yeah.
do want this way, but I can consider my partner in a slow burn relationship if that's a way that I
Mhm.
deal with things typically anyway, is I take my time before I,
Mm.
deal with, the conflict, and I'm not so temperamental. Sometimes
Mhm.
when people rush into these relationships, you realize that they have a temper. They're very temperamental
Mm.
because they're
Mhm.
rushing and
Mhm.
jumping to conclusions. The rush to the relationship is just actually showing how they deal with life, period. You know,
Yes.
but the
Yes.
slow burn relationship, that could be a sign of showing how the person takes on life too, that
Yeah.
they take their
Yeah.
time with things.
Yeah. There are a couple of questions in the chat. One was
Mm,
by your husband, Frank, and he's asking, are online dating relationships able to be slow burn? How do you
yes.
answer that, Dr. Angel?
Yes, I think so, because
Mhm.
you can have the if you're in a slow burn or even in these fast relationships, you can still have that initial attraction to the person. Of course, you
Yeah.
want to find the person physically attractive. So, online dating, you see this person's dating profile, you don't know much about them,
Mhm.
but you see how they look and everything, and it still can be slow burn. And sometimes they recommend that because in this day and age, a lot of people, they call it catfish. And so they
Mm.
do recommend that you take your time to text, see the person on FaceTime. You take your time
Mhm.
to see if this is really the profile that they put out there, if that's really who they are.
Right.
Because you don't want to go to the meetup and, you're thinking you're meeting with this person when it's somebody totally different. You're laughing.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
there's been dangers around it too, where some
Absolutely.
people have gotten, what? abused or certain things have happened when they've met
Mhm,
someone,
mhm.
that they were on a dating app with when they were totally
Yeah.
somebody different.
Yeah, I agree. I think even when you meet someone online, you can engage in a slow burn
Mhm.
because if you keeping it online for an extended period of time, and then when you do meet in person, you meet in a public,
Mhm.
neutral place. You don't have that boy coming to your house, and you don't go to his house. You meet in a public
Or
place,
the girl
and
coming to your house because
oh, no, no, yeah,
women
the girl that
can
definitely
do
ain't going
certain
to her house
things
and
too.
go to his house. No. You don't go to each other's home, but you meet in a public place and
Mhm.
have most of your initial dating like that, where you're not going to his place. He's not coming to your place. You're meeting up
Mhm.
and you spend time like that, um, as much as possible to get to know the individual better. So I think you can do a
Mhm.
slow burn, even if you do meet online. But I think that you have to be firm in indicating that that's what you want. Because, something else I was wondering about if uh, there's a relationship and one partner wants a slow burn and the other
Mhm.
one does not. They're kind of impatient and they might be feeling neglected or uncertain. So, how would you address that? What advice would you give to that individual who's in a
Um,
relationship? They want to go fast, the other one wants to go slow.
mhm. So they do have a decision to make, if they want to stay with that
Mhm,
person. If they're not going
mhm,
at the pace
mhm,
that they would like to go at, they do have a decision. Nobody's forcing anybody to be in a slow burn relationship. You don't have to
mhm.
stay in that relationship. But if you do,
Absolutely.
you can let your partner know, I'm used to moving at a faster pace. And if you want to stay with them, then you have to respect them saying, well, maybe I can make a compromise and it still will not be as fast as you may want it, but we can
Mhm,
try to
mhm.
figure out ways to help you to feel secure, you know, that
Yeah.
this is a relationship that they still find meaningful, that they still find, that they want to be in. But,
Mhm,
sometimes people want to rush to intimacy, for example. And they may
mhm.
say, well, I'm not going to do that based on history that has happened with me. It has nothing to do with you. And they
Right.
may find them physically attracted, but they may also say, well, I had a talk with God and I said to God, the next time I meet someone, I want this person to be the person I marry and I want to be celibate until that happens.
Mhm,
And that happens
mhm,
for some
mhm.
people. And then
Yeah.
they have a choice to decide, well, am I going to, wait through our engagement period or am I
Mhm.
going to move on to someone else?
Yeah.
They have every
That's
right,
good.
to decide.
Yeah.
Um, I think, about being secure and being patient is they have to have that reassurance from their partner, but they have to have
Mhm.
that conversation with their partner and not fester and not let them know, "This
Yeah.
is what, bothers me."
Right. Absolutely. Because both partners in that situation have a choice. The one who wants to move faster and the one who wants to move slower.
Mhm,
And neither one has more rights in the relationship than the other.
mhm,
Either one can make a choice. The one who wants to move faster can leave or decide, okay, I'm willing to slow down and wait. Or the one who wants to move slower can say, no, I'm not moving any faster
mhm,
because this is my standard. This is a decision that I have made,
mhm,
whether it's me within myself or between me and God, and I'm not going to move any faster than what we're moving right now.
mhm.
So what are you going to do? Because they have to decide.
They have
Otherwise,
to
if
make a decision.
you
They
have
have to
to
make
make a
a decision.
decision,
And they
yeah,
just have to be secure with that decision. So if you make the
right,
decision to stay after you've wanted to
mm-hmm,
maybe marry the person, you know,
mm-hmm,
um, Okay, it's a question. But after you've wanted to marry the person and you want to
Hmm.
get married sooner than they want to get married, you have a choice to say, okay, I'm not going to stay in this. The person may say, no, I'm taking my time. I've been divorced before or something. And
Right.
I don't want to go again and get divorced a
More
second time.
again.
So I'm going to take my
Absolutely.
time during our
Yeah.
engagement. So we have
Yeah.
a question here.
Yeah. Glyco, and thank you for watching, Glyco. I appreciate you showing up tonight. Glyco said, what to do if my wife is totally hateful towards me about everything? What do you want to say to Glyco?
I'm surprised at the question. Well, I mean, I want to say that, Glyco has a decision to make. It would be good if they could both see a counselor about,
Hmm.
why his wife is so hateful, and making sure that they get to the bottom of things with a third party
Yeah.
present before he
Hmm.
makes any decisions about, it could be a misunderstanding, something that has gone
Hmm.
on between them. And,
Hmm.
it's good to get it out there and air it out before
Hmm.
he makes any decisions
Yeah.
about, to stay or to go. It's not a good
Hmm.
situation to be in, though, if somebody's being hateful to you. I know, you're
Yeah.
saying that that's your spouse, so that's definitely your wife. Definitely a tough situation. What would you say,
Hmm.
Valerie, because you see mostly couples?
Well, I would first ask, what do you mean by hateful?
Mm,
What are you describing as hateful? What are the behaviors, attitudes, or words that you are defining as hateful? And does your wife also see it as hateful?
yes.
And I would also ask, has this been the norm of your relationship from its inception, or is this something new? If it's something
Yeah,
new,
recent.
then I want to look at when it started. I want to see, when it started and what precipitated
Mhm,
it. Because sometimes in a relationship, when one partner becomes, and I'm going to use his words, hateful, if that person didn't start out hateful, sometimes there is
mm,
something that precipitated the change in the behavior. What was
yes,
it? So these are all the things, Glyco, that would be uncovered and explored if you and your wife would go for couples counseling.
mhm,
So it's hard to give a definitive, specific answer other than see if your wife is willing to accompany you to a counselor. And just, not for nothing, you may need to go to more than one because it's important to get the right fit. I'm a
mhm,
firm believer in the right fit because I know I'm not the right fit for everyone.
mhm,
And no counselor, no counselor, no counselor is going to be the right fit for every single individual and every single couple. And if a counselor
mhm.
ever says that, run. That's not the person for you. Okay.
Absolutely.
So I would
Yeah,
encourage, like, oh, have a conversation with your wife
mhm,
and ask if she would be willing to accompany you to go to counseling. And when one spouse is approaching another, keep it on yourself. Keep it on yourself and your goals for the marriage in terms of improving communication or connection. Because what you don't want to do is point out her faults or her flaws
mm,
as the reason for seeking counseling. Because if you
mhm,
do that, I can almost guarantee she's not going. But if you make it about the relationship and wanting to have more closeness, more connection, more effective communication, more physical intimacy, more sexual intimacy, if you make it about that or those things, the likelihood increases of her saying yes to counseling. So I pray that that was helpful for you, Glyco, and I pray that your wife agrees when you have the conversation, because I am a firm believer. Obviously, both Dr. Angel and I, as counselors, are firm believers in
Mm-hmm.
counseling, and I love doing couples counseling. I know a lot of my colleagues don't. They don't fancy, like they say in England. They don't fancy doing couples counseling, but I love it. I love being in that mix and that environment and helping couples to get from where they are to where they say they want to be, because it's not about what I want for them, it's about what they want
Mm-hmm.
for themselves. So God bless you, Glyco, and again, thank you for tuning in tonight. um, and I just pray everything works out for you and your wife.
Yes. Thank you for
So
that question.
yeah, that was a great question. So I wanted to ask, so what kind of therapeutic tools or
Mm-hmm.
practices can help individuals to trust the process of a love that grows slowly over time?
Mm-hmm. So I believe some therapeutic tools are, even if it's
Mhm,
a love that's growing over time or a love that's fast, is we have to
mhm,
use some communication skills, being able to use I statements. I feel
mhm,
this way when this happens, you know,
mhm,
being
mhm,
able to
mhm,
use reflection, reflecting
mhm,
back. I'm hearing you say this, is that right? Am I hearing you right?
mhm.
And, saying it in your own words, and the person being able to say back to you, no, that's not what I meant, or yes, you got it, and now what is it
Yeah.
that you want to say? So being able to
Mhm,
let
mhm.
that person share, and being able then to also you share, that builds up the intimacy, you know, being able
Yes.
to not just consider ourselves, but consider our partner. How is it that this person is feeling? You know, that builds up the
Mhm.
intimacy when we're not just thinking about ourselves in the slow burn relationships, in a fast relationship, right? You want to have some good communication skills.
Oh,
You want
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able, like I even said earlier, to ask those hard questions. Um,
Mhm.
what are your thoughts? Like we said too, what are your thoughts on kids? What are your thoughts on pets? What are your thoughts on major purchases? Do we talk
Mhm.
about it if it's over a certain amount of money, or it doesn't matter to us? How are we
Yeah.
going to do, how are we going to do holidays? That's a big thing that comes up
Oh, that's
sometimes.
a big thing. Yeah. Yeah.
So having those
Mhm.
conversations in
Mhm.
a slow
Mhm.
burn relationship is really helpful, that we're covering everything before we really
Yeah.
dive in, and we're learning everything about each other. And so clinically speaking, this builds a healthy attachment, you know,
Mhm.
to that individual. It's not an unhealthy attachment, it's a healthy attachment as you're learning and growing together, you know.
Yeah.
Um, you're gonna grow together if you're in a fast relationship that's long term. You're gonna grow
Mhm.
together if it's a slow burning relationship. So you might as well take the time to build it to be a healthy relationship, and have that healthy foundation, that stable foundation, you know, not being built on rush, but being built on, I
Yeah.
took the time to get to know each other.
Mhm.
I know you referenced you and Frank, and I wanna say, even though you're saying it was fast, I'm sure though the 2 of you had conversations about certain things. I know not about the pets, but I'm sure you had other conversations over the course
Yeah.
of that year that you
Yeah.
can look back at and say, "Oh, okay,
Mhm.
well,
Mhm.
we did get on the same page on this, and we did get on the
Right.
same page on that."
Yeah, that's true. We did. We did. There were a lot more that we could have had and would have had we dated longer
Mhm,
before we got married. But that's really good, Dr. Angel. And I have to say this. I would say 99% of the couples that I see that come to counseling, the number one thing that they say, we don't communicate. We
mhm.
can't communicate. He
So we
doesn't
gotta go back to
me.
that. Yeah.
She doesn't listen to me.
Mhm.
I can't. talk about this or it leads to an argument. Yeah, so that I know it's cliche, but just because it's a cliche doesn't mean it's not true. Effective communication in a relationship can avoid so much conflict,
Mm-hmm.
so many arguments, if you were just willing to communicate effectively.
Mm-hmm.
Some of us, we didn't learn that. We didn't learn how to communicate
Mm-hmm.
effectively, and we get into these relationships and these marriages, and then all hell breaks loose. And then
Mm-hmm.
you want to leave, you want to divorce, you want to separate, you want to fight, you want to do all those things. But I say this: invest in your relationship.
Yes.
Go to counseling, uh, find a couples coach, get a couple mentor. If you have a pastor, a priest, a minister who they themselves have what at least appears to be a healthy relationship, and I have to say appears because we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. So if you have any of that in your life, I would say use it,
Yes.
because it can't, that communication piece cannot be overstated. It is the lifeblood. I don't care how much you love each other. You
Mm.
could love, be in love. I don't care how good the sex is. If you cannot communicate effectively, you're not going to be happy in that relationship, and it's not going to be
Mm-hmm.
healthy. Because you can't,
Mm-hmm.
listen, you can't stay in bed all day or wherever y'all having sex. You can't be sexing up all
Mm-hmm.
day. At
Yeah.
some point, you got to get out of that and actually communicate with one another
Yeah.
and talk and do
Doesn't
things and interact.
the honeymoon doesn't
Right.
last forever.
No. And trust and believe, the older you get, the less sex you be having. Listen, I'm almost 70. Me and Frank almost 70 years old. We ain't having sex nowhere near as much as we used to back in the day. So you need to learn how to communicate with one another.
Mm-hmm.
But start when you're younger. And don't wait until it's 10 or 15 or 20 years later and the
Mm.
children are grown and gone and you're looking at each other and say, now what? We have nothing because everything was geared towards the children. And we
Mm-hmm.
didn't invest in our relationship. We didn't build and we didn't grow together. Everything was about the children, the children, the children, the children, the children. But the goal is for them to grow up and leave home
Mm-hmm.
and have their own lives. So, yeah. Anyway,
Absolutely.
I'm going to come down off of my soapbox now.
You have to keep in
So,
mind being an empty nester one
that's
day.
right. You're going to be an empty nester one day. That's the
Mm-hmm.
goal. Okay. I know some cultures that children, even adult children, continue to live with their family, their parents until they marry and leave home. But even then, they're going to eventually leave home. I don't care if they stay in the house till they're 35 or 40. Eventually, they're going to be gone. Yeah, I know. You saw your eyes got big. I know. I feel the same way. But there are some cultures that practice that, especially for the females. They
Mm-hmm.
stay, they remain living with the parents until they get married and they leave. But anywho, so any final words, Dr. Angel?
Um, I think this was a good topic to consider. I think it's something that everything doesn't work for everyone. I think it's something
Mm,
that we need to say. Everything doesn't work for everyone. I know in this day
hmm
and age,
hmm
maybe you are meeting someone online, but you just need to take precautions if you're
hmm
meeting somebody online or you meeting them in person or you know them from somebody else or whatever. It's
Yeah,
important to take precautions whether you're going to be in a slow burn or a fast a love at first sight
hmm
relationship. Realize
hmm
communication is key, like we just talked
yeah,
about. However long your relationship is, it's important to have healthy communication with your partner, and then that relationship should hopefully last if they're also having that same type of communication back
yeah,
with you.
yes, absolutely. So I want to thank you so much for being here, Dr. Angel. I want to thank those of you who have been with us this evening. I want to thank those of you who are watching later on, because we know time and distance is not an
Mhm.
obstacle in these days and age. And when God wants us to receive something, He has a way. So I just want to thank you so much. And I invite you all to come back again next week. So next week, here's our topic. We ask this question: are all relationships transactional? Are all relationships transactional? We're going to focus on romantic relationships,
Mm.
but what about other relationships? Are they all transactional in some way? Um, I have my thoughts on that. I'm going to have a couple of guests on who are going to have their thoughts on that. So I invite you all to come back again next week, 7 p.m. Eastern Time on next Sunday. And Dr. Angel, God bless you and God bless everyone. I pray that you have an absolutely fantabulous week. And I just want to say this for those of you who are married. Oh, thank you, Cousin Elaine, or in a committed relationship. It is my firm belief that there is no marriage that is beyond redemption when the partners are committed to each other, committed to the relationship, and committed to God. So I just want to put that out there. And if you want counseling, Dr. Angel, what happened to your name? I don't see your. Oh, you know what? Because I put that up. Dr. Angel Windham. You could find her on Psychology Today.
Yes.
Dr. Angel Windham. Take note of Dr. Angel Windham. New Creations Counseling
Counseling,
LLC,
sir. Yeah. Mhm.
and you can find her on Psychology Today. And Dr. Angel is licensed in New Jersey. Um, So if you're in Jersey, you can see Dr. Angel. I'm also licensed in New Jersey, but I also provide coaching, and coaching doesn't have the across state
Mm.
lines limitation the way the counseling does. So depending upon what you're looking for, either one of us can provide it. But Dr. Angel Wyndham, you can find her on Psychology Today. All right. God bless you guys. I'll see you next
Thank
time.
you, Valerie. Bye-bye.